Can you talk a little about just what the emails have told you about what happened there? Because Libya is such a source for so much of the mayhem now in Syria, the ISIL, jihadism, and so on. And it was almost Hilari Clinton's invasion. What do the emails tell us about that?
Libya, more than anyone else's war, was Hillary Clinton's war. Barack Obama initially opposed it. Who was the person who was championing it? Hillary Clinton. That's documented throughout her emails. She put her favoured agent, in effect, Sidney Blumenthal, onto that. There's more than 1,700 emails out of the 33,000 Hillary Clinton emails we published just about Libya. It's not about that Libya has cheap oil. She perceived the removal of Gaddafi and the overthrow of the Libyan state, something that she would use to run in the general election for president. So late 2011, there's an internal document called the Libya TikTok that is produced for Hillary Clinton, and it's a chronological description of how Hillary Clinton was the central figure in the destruction of the Libyan state. As a result, there was around 40,000 deaths within Libya. Jihadists moved in, ISIS moved in. That led to the European refugee and migrant crisis, because not only did you have people fleeing Libya, people then fleeing Syria, destabilization of other African countries as a result of arms flows. The Libyan state itself was no longer able to control movement of people through it. Libya faces onto the Mediterranean. And so it had been effectively the cork in the bottle of Africa. So all problems, economic problems, civil war in Africa, previously people fleeing those problems didn't end up in Europe because Libya policed the Mediterranean. And that was said explicitly at the time, back in early 2011 by Gaddafi. What do these Europeans think that they're doing, trying to bomb and destroy the Libyan state? There's going to be floods of migrants out of Africa and jihadists into Europe, and that is exactly what happened.
came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, oh, I'm sure it did.
The no-fly zone, apparently introduced with the sanction of the United Nations Resolution 1973, was a no-fly zone. What is a no-fly zone? It literally, its meaning is that Libyan Air Force cannot fly over Libyan skies. It's an infringement of Libyan sovereignty, but all the same, the no-fly zone means just that. It simply would have meant, and as was understood by everyone, including the Financial Times, that no-fly zone will not do the job for them because the Libyan tanks and Libyan artillery could still travel on the ground. But in fact, no-fly zone has been turned into an all-out attack on the Libyan armed forces. The Libyan tanks, the Libyan artillery cannot move from one place to another without being bombed by the NATO forces. Because the purpose of this no-fly zone is not to protect civilians. Civilians are being killed. Even civilians belonging to the opposition are every now and then bombed in what has sickeningly come to be called friendly fire. So quite a few people who are on their side have been killed by this bombing as well. But the real purpose of this no-fly zone is regime change. It always was, but it's become explicit. The very people who used to say, it's not the purpose of this action to regime change, we are simply trying to give help to the Libyan civilians who are endangered by the dictatorial regime of Colonel Gaddafi. That was the story. And then 10 days ago or so, David Cameron, Sarkozy of France, and Obama, who won the Peace Prize, by the way, not so long ago. He's a Nobel laureate for peace. They wrote an article in the Financial Times that there can be no solution to the Libyan problem unless Colonel Gaddafi leaves the country and leaves power. You know, the arrogance of it. I mean, even the East India Company would have been slightly envious of what these people are doing. They're saying, Colonel Gaddafi must leave power and must leave Libya. Can you imagine the attitude of the British people would be? No matter how much horrible you think David Cameron is, some foreign country comes and says, Mr. Cameron must leave office and must leave the country. No, you don't tell him, we'll tell him to leave, we'll make him leave. But it's not the business of foreign countries to come and tell which government you will have. So the purpose of it is always regime change.